My final guest played a doctor in ER and became an international heartthrob. Today, he's a movie superstar who takes nothing for granted. Two of his latest projects prove the point. One is a science fiction mystery called Solaris. In the other, he makes his debut as a director. It's a story of Chuck Barris, the man who invented trash television. But more than that, later claimed he was a hitman with 32 kills to his credit. Ladies and gentlemen, George Clooney.
Do this. Come here.
God. She's like...
Thank you, Dawn.
Yeah, dream on.
I was with Lenny back there.
Oh, dear. Wonderful. She draws them in like some mermaid luring men onto the rocks, doesn't she?
She's mean that way.
She's mean.
Yeah.
She doesn't care. I think it's that men find attractive in her. She just doesn't care. Now, let's talk about that movie. I mean, I saw Chuck Barris about 20 years ago, more, 30 years ago in America, and I could not believe what I saw. This is the man who invented trash television. It makes Jerry Springer, he was probably his godfather, wasn't he? That kind of guy.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Something to be proud of.
Yes, absolutely. The man who invented trash television.
Yeah.
We're all in his debt. And then this book that he wrote, where he claimed to have been a hitman for the CIA and 32 kills. So, I mean, I needn't ask you what attracted you to the book. I mean, it's an extraordinary story, isn't it?
Well, I thought it was... I mean, I remember the first time I read it, and I thought that I thought it was a pretty funny idea, the idea of tying bad television to the CIA somehow made sense to me. And, you know, it was a really good script, and I wanted to tell the story. But I grew up in television. You know, my father hosted a game show in New York in the mid-'70s called the Money Maze, which was a giant maze. And the husband would run through it, and the wife would stand above it going, you know, go left, go right, go left. And, which was sort of a perfect statement on television in the 70s for us. And so I grew up on those sets, and I understood what they were like, so I thought it'd be a fun thing to do, fun thing to work on.
Yes. You mentioned the childhood there and growing up in Teleland, in a sense. I suppose from that background that you came from, and given that your auntie was Rosemary Clooney and there was all this showbiz in the family, that in a sense you're probably, genetically predisposed to going into the business?
I was forced. They forced me into it. You know, probably. There's no great, we were talking about before, there's no great fame school that they teach you, you know, hey, go off and here's how you'll handle it. But I certainly had some yeah, I would think, it's a funny question. By the way, Mick did a great job. That's a song, Rosemary, the Cole Porter song, Every Time We Say Goodbye.
It's a great song.
Big hit for Rosemary. Yeah. I used to drive my aunt for a long time, and so it was really something to hear that song again.
Was that your introduction to showbiz, driving
Rosemary?
for your aunt?
Well, my father had a talk show early on when I was about, you know, from the time I was a kid. So whenever it was, we worked on it. You know, if it was St. Patrick's Day, I had a leprechaun outfit at like 9 years old, and my dad would interview me, and I'd have a cigar and going, well, it's a hard thing, you know. And then if it was Easter, I had a bunny outfit. My dad would go, this is a big day for you. Yeah, it's a big day.
Have you still got those outfits?
Oh, like you don't know. I'm not running around with a poodle, a dead poodle stuff.
That is not a poodle, that is a West Highland Terrier. I want to make that very clear.
But it is dead, nonetheless.
Dead.
Dare you say that?
Don't tell her.
So therefore it was in the genes. In a
It
sense.
was sort of. It was a great way to grow up. You know, most kids sort of have to create a fantasy life when they're kids. They make believe characters, and we had this great. It was a vaudeville act, is what we were as a family. So we had this great costume room where we could go in and play any character we wanted, that was fun to do.
And what about you as a child? Were you always devastating with the ladies as a child?
Yes, I was.
You
And thanks for bringing that up.
No, I just wondered. I mean,
you know, I was the same. You know, I was a. You know, I was a bit
awkward with the opposite sex.
The opposite sex.
He means girl.
Oh, yes. You know, who knows? You know, I think every kid is, you know, for a long period of time you are until alcohol comes into play.
Oh, that frees you.
It smooths things over a little bit, yeah.
I think you should get bra classes at school. That's what I think.
Just to unsnap the things?
Just so that there isn't all that
I think that's what
fluffing
Velcro
around.
is for.
Yeah,
Velcro, don't you
well,
think? No?
depends, obviously, you know, on the weighting. I'd quite like to run a school, actually, for young men.
Would you?
A kind of, you know, show you the way round kind of school.
Then you did change it.
Don't even try. Don't even try. No,
There is no seamless segue.
No, there is none.
At all. No. And then, George, then you went into soaps and you did an apprenticeship in some fairly
bad television.
Bad
are you
television,
saying? Yeah, I've mastered bad television. I did a series where I played an undercover cop on a Harley during the day and a rock star at night. Should have read that script before I took the job. I did a lot of bad TV. That's the problem, is it just comes back to haunt you, you know. I did bad sitcoms that are just in syndication and run sort of constantly, and I've got a nice mullet haircut and everything you could just, you know, everything bad about the 80s, you know, is me. So, yeah, it was good to get through that period of time.
And then, of course, you did ER.
Yeah, Doctor Show.
Well, but that was a marvelous TV series. I mean, that was beautifully written, beautifully acted.
It was fun. It was sort of changed television for a period of time, and it was fun to do. We were very excited about being a part of that. You know, it lasted. I was there for 5 years, and it was a roller coaster ride for 5 years.
Yeah. Oh, no, I suppose that one of the consequences of that kind of apprenticeship that you served was that when the big time finally hits, you were fairly well balanced about things. You were able to take a fairly sane view of stardom.
Well, yes and no. No, yeah, you're right. You're more prepared for it, because I was 33 when the show hit. So that's a big, you've sort of almost been famous several times, so you're sort of prepared for the fact that it has very little to do with you. I also had, you know, Rosemary was a big star, and then not famous, and she didn't become less of a singer along the way. So, you know, I got a lot of good lessons through life before I got around to the show being successful. So it was you know, I feel sorry for any kid who's 20 years old and sort of hits it, because I don't know how you handle it. I don't know how you do it.
You must have met some extraordinary people, actually, when you drove for your auntie. I mean, who are you taking around?
Oh, Martha Ray. And
Martha Ray.
Remember Martha Ray?
Gosh.
Oh, she was great. I remember driving her once. It was like midnight, and we were in Lake Tahoe, and we were driving out on the streets, and she said, "Pull the car over." And Rosemary and she were in the back, and I pulled over on the side of the street, and she literally put one leg out of the car and, you know, took a leak.
Classy!
Oh, yeah. My aunt told me not to turn around. I'd learned too much about the aging process. I agreed. And Helen O'Connell was great. She was a great, fun lady. And there were, you know, all of the women, K-Star and Rosemarie, but that was a fun time. Tony Bennett for a period of time, too. Yeah. It was great. Yeah.
And what about also, too, you mentioned in research is the fact that your Uncle George was a very big influence in your life.
Oh, huge influence. He's actually my great uncle, but he was the great character in my family's life. He was a horse trainer, and I was named after him. And he was mostly just sort of an alcoholic, but a good alcoholic in a good way. And he just, you know, he would teach us. I worked at the racetrack in Kentucky with him for a couple of summers, and we had a goat that we took care of. I took care of the goat, and he'd watch after the horses. And I remember we fell asleep. He was drunk on the side of the river once and fell asleep, and the goat got out on the racetrack in the middle of like the third race, and we were both, I was asleep and he was passed out, and they woke us up and said, you know, "George, your goat's in the middle of the third race." And he said, "How did it finish?" He was one of those great characters, though, that he
But what did you learn from him? I mean, what was it that you admired about him?
Well, he was one of those people that understood that he lit up a room. You know, if we were sitting here right now, he'd be telling you a story, and we'd all be we'd be better off because of him. We'd be better off because we were in the room with him. And he taught you how to sort of embrace and enjoy the things that are going well and sort of embrace and enjoy the things that aren't going well. He also taught you not to wake up at 70 years old and say, I should have done this, which is a good lesson, you know, in life. Died of lung cancer, you know. He's a good guy, though.
Let's talk about the other project you've got on hand now, and that's Solaris.
Yeah.
Which is a remake of a film that was made about 30 years ago. And I think it's a smashing movie. I really do. I mean, it's nice to be treated as a cinema goer, as a fairly intelligent human being. It's about lots of things. It's about, is there an afterlife? It's about grief. It's about love. It's about all kinds of questions. It's about choice.
Mm-hmm. It's about belief systems. It's about God. It's about a lot of things.
It is, but it's also it's a mystery as well. It's a thriller in that best sense of the word, the psychological. There's nothing awful. There's no monsters from outer space happen, but all the time you're on edge. What is happening here? And yet in America, it didn't do well at all.
Thanks.
Try and come to the point, Michael.
Don't sugarcoat it. It's okay. I'm fine with that.
The point is, it was never going to be. It was going to be a difficult film to sell. That's the point.
No, you're right. Look, the trick is what you're trying to do is do things that you're proud of and hope last longer than an opening weekend. And this was a film that Steven Soderbergh directed it, who I'm partners with, and he's about as good a filmmaker as there is right now. And he really wanted to take some chances, and I thought that'd be an exciting project to work on, and we're, you know, immensely proud of it. And, you know, it didn't do very well in the States, but that's sort of, you know, it's not really spoon-fed entertainment. You know, it doesn't have a nice, everything tied up into a ball at the end, and it leaves you walking out asking questions, and I think that's probably dangerous, you know, at times, if you have to think, you know, that's, God help you.
So what's happening after this then? After these two movies?
Well, I just finished a film with the Coen brothers, Joel and Ethan Coen, who I did Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Oh yeah, that was a wonderful film. I mean, you must have been happy with that.
Oh, that was fun. That was fun to do. I was a little upset they didn't let me sing. You know.
Do you have a voice?
No, but I was still upset that they didn't. I went into a recording studio in Mississippi and sang. Did the whole, you know, because the soundtrack's very big, and I sang and sang and sang, and I looked up, and none of the producers or directors would look me in the eye. I thought I was great. I'm like, hey, no. So yeah, I was a little upset, but and I don't sing in this one either. But it's with Catherine Zeta-Jones, and I play a divorce attorney who's rather ruthless, and she plays a woman who marries men for money, and we just. I don't mean that in a bad way either. Irony! Oh. She's mean.
No.
No wonder that dog's dead. It was suicide. So yeah, it's a really fun movie. It should be a lot of fun.
Speaking of marriage and things, you had a bet with Nicole Kidman, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
She had a bet with you, which was what, when you were 40? You've been married with children.
She said that when I'm 40, I'll be married with kids.
And you're not.
Well, when I'm 40, I'll let you know. What? What are you laughing about?
Can I just say on this moot point
Yes.
here that I don't want to compromise you on TV, George, but it's got to stop. Just leave me alone from now on. You know, I don't want any more letters. I don't want any more text. I don't want any more flowers. I can't go to Paris again with you. I am married. Get over it. Move on. Okay? And probably the only dignified way that you can get out of this situation is what, one final kiss? Would that be...
Come on, get up here.
This will help you.
Ooh. Wow. Man, oh man.
Heather, we've been witness to an extraordinary thing there. We really
Wonderful.
have. A great meeting of libidos.
Right.
Well, but what's with the foot, by the way?
I tore
Think
my
he's
ankle.
coming out in sympathy with me.
I did that, yeah. I tore my ankle playing basketball.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
All right.
It
Good.
was- yeah.
Well, not good, but I mean...
Well, thanks.
I thought it might be something really serious.
Hey, at least you
Good.
still got it. Excellent.
Well, it's,
You've got some pain, that's great.
I hope that Solaris does do well, and I think it will. It's, as I said, it's a good movie. And the other one is just the weirdest story, the Chuck Barris thing. It's extraordinary.
Yeah.
And it's been great meeting you. I really,
You
really,
too. It's been
really
fun
enjoyed
being
it.
here.
And George Clooney, thank you very much indeed. George Clooney.
Thank you so much. It was fun.
Jazz boys.
Dressed up like that.
My thanks to George Clooney, to Dawn French, Helen Mills McCartney, and Stimpy Red. Next week, my guests include Jack Dee, Jamie Oliver, Damian Lewis, Jules Holland and Beverly Knight, and Lisa Stansfield. Until then, from all of us here, very good night. Good night.